It is my joy to fill in as guest lesson teacher today. One of the things I love to do is teach, and so it is my joy to share this lesson with you today. And we're going to start with a little story. It is said that soon after his enlightenment, the Buddha passed a man on the road who was struck by the Buddha's extraordinary radiance and peaceful presence. The man stopped and asked, "My friend, what are you? Are you a celestial being or a god?" "No," said the Buddha. "Well, are you some kind of magician or wizard?" Again, the Buddha answered, "No." "Are you a man?" "No." "Well, my friend, then what are you?" The Buddha replied, "I am awake." What does it mean to be awake? As I was pondering this for the lesson, what does it mean to be awake? For the purpose of this lesson, it means being self-aware, fully conscious of the present moment. Are we awake? Are we aware? Are we conscious? This summer, we've been reviewing some spiritual tools, and I wanted to unpack the one today called self-awareness, because it's a really important one on our spiritual path. So I operate on the assumption that we are inherently creative, wise, loving beings. We have the ability to respond to any situation or challenge that arises in a unique and creative way. So something happens along the way. Would you agree? We get into messes the way we are because there's a disconnect somewhere. If we operate on this assumption, something's in the way. And I'll give you an example. We have a choice, and we don't always know that we have a choice in how we respond. That's one of the self-awareness challenges, that in anything that comes up, sometimes we go back to old habitual ways of interacting. And I'll give you an example. I'm a Francophile. You all know I love everything about France and French. And so when the children were little, we decided that we were going to take them on a trip to France when they were old enough to be able to enjoy it. And at one point, we had just done the Eiffel Tower and had a really good time. And we got down, and in the plaza where the Eiffel Tower is, there are all these little street vendors selling all kinds of fun little things. And there was these little toys that were squishy and fun. And so we bought the kids each one of these squishy toys, and they had a great time. And one of the best ways to get around Paris is on the bus, because you can go anywhere and you get to see really fun things. And so we were on the bus home back to our hotel, and the kids are playing with the toys in the back of the bus. And on one side of us is a man, and he's dressed all in black. And on the other side of us is a woman kind of in business casual. And we're playing with these toys. And all of a sudden, one of them explodes. And we learned that what the squishy stuff is flour. So the man in black, covered. And the woman in business casual has just a little bit on her shoe. Like somehow she escaped unscathed, but she has a little bit on her shoe. So the man in black bursts into laughter. He thinks this is the most hysterical thing that ever happened to him. And we're all like, oh my God. The woman who got some on her shoe, you know, she's getting up and she's moving. She's disgusted because she got a little bit on her shoe. And what that illustrated for me is we have a choice. Same exact situation. One chose to throw, this is funny, this is hysterical. Look what happened. I'm having a good day. I'm dressed in black, and poof, all of a sudden I'm dressed in flour. He thinks it's so funny. The woman is like, oh my God, I got flour on my shoe. So every situation is unique and deserves a unique response. Now, who's to say that the woman who got flour on her shoe isn't having a bad day? Maybe she was late for an interview. Maybe she's got to be perfect for whatever she's going to. It's not my place to judge her reaction, but just to note it, just to note and to remind myself, I have a choice as to how I react. I can be self-aware enough that I can choose how I respond to a particular situation. So another example, and this is going to lead me into another piece of my talk. When I was very small, probably like 4, I think, I was shopping with my mother in a department store and got lost. And was awful. I just have this memory of being terrified and couldn't find my mom, and the security had to come and find me, and eventually we were reunited and done, over with. Fast forward several years to my teen years. I'm a teenager now. I'm like 17, 18. And I'm going on a little shopping trip with some of my friends in downtown Philadelphia in this huge department store called Wanamaker's. And it's as big as Macy's. It's no longer there, but in its day, it was as big as the Macy's in New York, just floor after floor, huge. And we're having fun, and we had agreed that, we'll have lunch in the little cafe and just have some fun. So I'm shopping with a friend in the clothing department, and I'm getting really into what I'm doing, and all of a sudden, I notice I'm alone. And I look around, and my friend is gone. I look on the other side of the floor, my other friends are gone. And I go into panic. I panic. I'm terrified. Where are my friends? Oh my God, what happened? And I go to the cashier and I say, can you please page? Oh, we don't have a paging system. So I have no way to get in touch with my friends. No, I have no idea where they are. And I have completely forgotten that we were supposed to have this date. And I'm starting to get literally hysterical. And I call my mother. I find a dime. Those days you had to call on a payphone, right? And I call my mother, and I'm literally hyperventilating. I'm 18 years old, 17 years old, and I'm in a department store, and she's like, calm down. I'll send Uncle Heb to come and get you. It'll be okay. And Uncle Heb finds me and it takes me home, and I'm a wreck. And I get home, and my friends are there. And they're like, where were you? We were supposed to meet at the cafe. What had happened, as you can tell, is I went back to 4 years old. And the 4-year-old wound reared its ugly head, because in that moment, the situation was almost exactly the same. And I, for whatever reason, hadn't healed that. And so my brain was no longer in present time. My brain was now in the 4-year-old Edie. And I didn't know I had a choice. I didn't remember that all I had to go do was go to the cafeteria and meet my friends. Do you see what I mean? So self-awareness is we go back and we begin to heal these things that come up that prevent us from creating and responding in a unique and creative way to every situation that comes up. So Myrtle Fillmore had a great quote, and I want to share this with you, because she talks about our spiritual growth and our spiritual path. Our restlessness represents a power that's crying out to be expressed. It may take the form of appetite or ambition, but rightly directed, it will be a wonderful something within us that will transcend all the desires of the outer senses. So what's wanting to be expressed through us, but we're not quite ready to embrace it. We're kind of stuck in, again, habitual ways of thinking, habitual ways of doing. Our spiritual expression, things are wanting to come through us, right? Have you felt that? Have you felt that kind of divine restlessness? That spirit calling us to grow, to evolve. And yet, there are places where we're still in the past. that are limiting our choices of how we respond to a particular situation. And I'll give you an example. A friend shared with me yesterday in terms of change. She had decided to try a prayer and meditation class with Oprah and Deepak Chopra. Anybody doing that? Okay. And it involved a particular kind of mantra in a different language. And this was outside of her comfort zone, but she did it anyway. And she was very pleased with the results. She was able to let go of an ingrained perspective and embrace something different. Spirit's calling us to embrace something different, something new in ourselves, giving us a new perspective. So we're going to try a little exercise. Everybody clasp your hands. Okay? Now, clasp them a different way. How's that feel? Weird, right? Just sit there for a sec. Anything coming up? It just feels strange, right? It's a pretty safe change. And just think about something in your life that you might want to do a little bit differently, and recall this exercise, that you can do something simple like clasp your hands. This morning when we did our opening prayer, I asked us to hold hands. That was just a little bit of a difference, okay, just a little bit. So when you're making changes, sometimes maybe they don't have to be huge sweeping changes. They can be just little incremental changes as you increase your self-awareness and are able to stay in present time. Oh, how's it feel when I want to make that change? So consider something you've been wanting to change in your life. Some place where Spirit's calling you to go. Might be a lifestyle change. Might be a health change, something you want to do more healthy in your life. Might be something you want to deepen your spiritual practice. So I want you to call that to mind right now. Think of something you want to change. Okay. Now, check in with your body. How does it feel when you're considering that change? How's your body talking to you? What's your body saying when you think about considering that change? Are there habitual thoughts that are coming up as you think about that change? Any comment? Anybody checking in, anybody feeling any kind of resistance in their body at all? Have you picked safe enough changes that your body's like, okay, we can do that? You right? Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm working with a book in my own practice. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I've referenced it in the homework sheet that I've given you. Yes, I gave you homework. Joe Dispenza is a wonderful author and teacher. And he discusses that our brain makes chemicals. When we think a thought, our brain makes some chemicals. And the chemicals go down to our body, and they're translated into a feeling. And then the feeling creates the chemical. And so we have this sort of biochemical feedback loop that happens between our body and our brain as we consider these thoughts. And what happens, the chemicals, when we have habitual thoughts, we create these same chemicals. And so our body gets used to these chemicals, and it feels very comfortable with them. And that's why it doesn't like to change, because that means new chemicals. But I like these chemicals. I like the way I feel in this particular habitual way of thinking. So when we become more self-aware, we can, and something comes up that's incongruent with our desire to change, we can go, oh, that's just a little biochemical feedback happening. And I can say, you're just a little chemical. It's okay. I can come over here and change. And we can begin to consciously talk to ourselves and remind ourselves when these feelings come up that we can reassure our body that it's okay to change, we're going to be okay, all is well, and then that will begin to create new chemicals, new biochemical markers that reassure our body, that flood our body, and begin a whole new biochemical loop. So for me, the example I would use for myself is exercise. I've been really working on trying to exercise every single day because I know it's important. And so I make the decision, and Monday, you know, I'm walking, and then Tuesday, oh, I don't really feel like it today. Oh, I got a lot to do. Oh, I really have to do this first. So when I think about doing something different, my body's going to doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to break out of my biochemical soup. And it creates these little markers that come up and go, no, you really want to sit and work on the computer. You don't really want to exercise. And so I call upon my faculty of will, and I say, yes, I do. We're going to exercise today. And so I get out and I exercise, and I create the endorphins, and my body goes, oh, I guess this is okay. We can create some new markers for this. Yeah, I can get into this. But every day, it's a choice. I'm conscious of what's interfering with my desire to create a positive change. What are the roadblocks that get thrown up? And I can become aware of them. I can begin to do what I call an archaeological dig. So what you're going to do is think about what comes up when you begin to try to change. What are the feelings that interfere? So as you become more aware, as you tune into your body and become more aware, then you can begin to have a discussion with your body, saying, you know, this really is in our best interests. We really do want to do this, okay? Remember this. Just go back to this exercise. It wasn't so hard to change to this, was it? It felt a little weird, but if you start doing it over and over again, like maybe this week, start clasping your hands in a different way every day and just see what happens. Just a simple thing. Very simple thing. The other thing you can try that's a sort of a fun physical reminder is, I'm going to use you as an example, my darling husband here. We all usually hug like this, right? What if you hug heart to heart like that? Just something a little different. Just a little tiny bit different. Hug heart to heart. So when we get done today, hug heart to heart and see how that change sits with you. Okay. So think about being an archaeologist. And you're going to start digging down and rooting out those calcified thoughts and feelings that are interfering with being fully present, fully awake in this moment. Because when you're fully awake, you're gonna say, bring it on, life, bring it on. I can't wait to go do this thing. I can't wait to realize this dream. I'm ready. And so spend quality time with your body, checking in and digging down, saying, where are these feelings coming from? If fear comes up when you think about it, start digging down. What's that fear about? What's going on, body? And have a conversation with your body about that fear. And see if you can get down to the root of it. And then give it to Spirit. Let it go. Say, Spirit, I'm ready to let go of this fear. I'm ready. Take it from me. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to be fully awake, fully alert, fully ready to be my magnificent self. Are you ready to be your magnificent self? Yes. Really? Yes. How much are you willing? Like a lot? That much. Okay, that much. That much. Yes. Everybody say yes? Yes. Okay, I gave you, in your handout, there's some journal prompts, if you would like, to work with your archaeology this week and work on staying awake. Work on staying awake this week. Work on your present moment awareness. Work on choosing how you want to respond to a situation. Noticing when something comes up and you react in a habitual way. Just notice it. Go, oh, there's some information. I went back to some old habits. Maybe I need to go and dig some more and see what that's going on. So this isn't about judging yourself. This isn't about, oh man, I did it again. It's about learning. It's about being aware. It's about finding your magnificence and healing any place that is kind of holding you back or isn't quite ready for your full magnificence. So just do some digging this week. Use your journal prompts and send me a note. If you get some triumphs and some fun, send me a note because I would love to hear how you're doing with this. If you get some really cool insights. You know, Keisha got a blog. She's going to start a blog. And it's going to be really fun, in my opinion, for us to share our growth stories. Share your triumphs. How are you doing with this? Okay? So I'm going to close with a little parable. It's a famous parable by a woman named Portia Nelson, who was a cabaret singer in the early and middle part of the 20th century. And I'm sure you've heard it, but it kind of illustrates our spiritual journey in a way and how we can just be awake. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes me forever to get out. Chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. I walk down the same street. This is chapter 3. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in, but it's my fault. My eyes are open. I know where I am. I get out right away. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down a different street. Let's walk down a different street this week. Are you in? So let's say our magnificence. Ready? Together. I wake up to my magnificence and say yes to living consciously. And so it is. Can I get an amen? Amen. Yes. You rock. You so rock.